You are listening to Confessions of a Counselor podcast. Here we will talk all things mental health in bite-sized chunks. Hello and welcome to Confessions of a Counselor. I'm your host, Janice, and in today's episode, we're going to be talking about what therapy is not. So what happens outside of the hour of therapy that we go to and how we can have the biggest impact to our therapeutic process by using our time outside of therapy. So let's jump right in. So don't get me wrong, therapy is incredibly valuable. We want to be showing up for the therapeutic process. We want to be using our time with our therapist super effectively. And we want to recognize that the work that's done within the hour of therapy doesn't stand alone. It's not a standalone process. We need to start to apply what's happening inside that therapeutic hour to the outside of our life. We need to make sure that we're looking at the therapeutic process with a bigger lens than just that hour of therapy. So imagine that you're learning a new language. You wouldn't expect to become fluent in that language if you were just attending weekly class. So you were going to class, learning, and you were only using that new language inside of that weekly learning that was happening. You would need to practice. You need to immerse yourself. You need to integrate that language into your day-to-day life so it starts to become a daily habit. It starts to become a practice. And so therapy is like that hour in the classroom. Therapy is the learning place. Therapy is where we gain the new tools and we start to understand what's happening. And then we can apply that to our outside life, into our relationships with others, into our relationship with ourselves. So we want to be taking what we learn inside of therapy and taking that into our real life. And this is where we really start to see that change happen and start to see how therapy can really make that huge impact on our lives. So this is where that real transformation happens. So think about it. If we're working on managing our anxiety, for say, the most significant progress that's going to happen in managing that anxiety, understanding that anxiety is by practicing the coping skills in the moment that we're feeling anxiety or in the moments after, as we've talked about, right? Whenever we recognize that we could use a skill, we're going to use that skill in hopes that we can bring it back to that moment. So using our coping strategies, practicing our coping strategies outside of session is going to be really, really important because we need to start to recognize where are these patterns or conflicts kind of showing up in our day-to-day life. So if we kind of come back to the learning a new language example, this is where we need to be doing the homework assigned, right? So what are the things that the therapist has asked you to think about? What are some of the coping strategies or skills that the therapist has asked you to work on? And are we applying that outside of session? So the biggest impact that I see is when clients go out into the world and they're like, oh, I thought about this, or I noticed in this situation that this was something that we had talked about, or I used that coping skill that you had suggested and it really, really worked. Or in the opposite of, hey, we talked about this coping strategy last time and I tried to use it and it just flopped, right? Didn't work. It was not helpful. And that's good information to have as well. What's working, what's not working. So we need to be using those skills outside of session kind of as our homework or as our integrated learning of our new language. And then building that supportive environment outside. So oftentimes you'll hear me asking about kind of who is your support system? Who are the people that are around you? Are you able to talk about therapy with them? Because I want to know who we can rely on in our support systems to help us practice our skills, right? So can I ask my partner to remind me to use this skill? Can I ask my best friend to call me and check in on me? Can I talk about therapy with my girlfriend group? Who can I talk to? The other dads who are struggling with the same thing, right? Who can I talk to that kind of helps me to remember the therapeutic process and practice those skills? So that's super, super important. So first we need to kind of view therapy as the guide. So it's not the magic wand. It's not going to fix everything, but it's the guide. It's the way forward. It's the map to our change and our process. So taking ownership of our healing journey and taking ownership of what we can do to start to make that change is the only way that we're going to see something kind of manifest or come from that therapeutic process. remembering that change takes time. So we need to be patient with ourselves. We need to give ourselves grace and not kind of put too much pressure on the therapeutic process, right? Letting it go and be the whatever it's going to be by just showing up and being as honest and raw as we can. So using what we learn in therapy and taking it outside while walking through that therapeutic journey. So remember that that therapy hour is a powerful catalyst for creating change in our life outside of therapy, but you get to decide how much impact therapy is going to have on your day-to-day life. You're the one who gets to cultivate that experience of change for yourself. So nurturing it into something that works for you. So I hope that that gives you kind of an insight into why we use therapy and how we can kind of apply it to our day-to-day life. Thank you so much for listening. Remember that mental health is a journey, it's a continuous process, and so we need to take care of ourselves. Until next time, take care. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Confessions of a Counselor podcast is available anywhere you like to listen to your podcasts on Apple and Android. New episodes are released every Friday. If you enjoyed today's episode, please join the conversation. Leave a review or subscribe to the podcast hosted on Spotify. You can find all these details on janicelyons.com. Until next time, take care.